typically what happens. Because if the music is rock-oriented and sensually oriented, the words tend to follow. Just compare some of the quality of the words in some of the contemporary songs today with what you find in your hymnal. Big, big difference. And that's why when I covered the other day about Hezekiah in 2 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 28 to 30, it says they went back to the words of Asaph, the seer, and of David in the Old Testament hymn book, which is the book of Psalms. Apparently, something had gone wrong during the reign of Ahaz, and they brought all the contemporary music in along with all the words, and you know something? It was theological pablum. You know, it's like you're starving, and the guy says, well, here, have a slice of cheese or something. And so, no, they went back to the words. And so a lot of these, the love songs are just, they're so sensual and sappy. How many of you got a blessing from Dr. Pippin's sermon on love? That was such a breath of fresh air. Because, you know, when a lot of people talk about love, it's so syrupy and sappy, it makes you want to spew it out of your mouth. And yet, you know, when you step on your toes, then bang, they all of a sudden knock you between the eyes. Well, what happened to love then? You know? And so we need to do better. Okay, I think one last one. It says, in the field of a cappella music, is it fine to listen to them even though they have 7th, 9th, 13th chords and all of those chords that is always being used? Okay, that's a good question. The musicians are going to understand this. Of course, a cappella music can be jazz and rock. There's no question about it. You don't have to have a drum set or a piano for a cappella music to be, you know, jazz or rock. When I share with you the 1972 philosophy of music on Friday, you will see that when our church got together at that point, they said there's nothing inherently wrong with 7th, 9th, and 13th chords. Nothing inherently wrong with them. But they should be used judicially. All right? They should be used judicially. There was a time in history when you could not use a tritone in music because that was the devil's note. All right? A tritone is when you go from C to F sharp. It's like, it just kind of sounds a little startling. And so it's like, no, that's the devil's note. Well, they were functioning off of a Platonic framework. There's nothing wrong with going from C to F sharp or playing that at the same time. What this demands is some creativity and ingenuity in order to do it right. And if it's done right, it'll be fine. However, I know where the question is coming from, and most jazz is totally saturated with 7th, 9th, 13th chords. They play them all the time. Like in most forms of what we might call Western music, you would never end on a C chord with a D on top of it. You know what I'm saying? That just isn't done. Or with an F sharp, you know. C7 with an F sharp on top of it. But jazz players will rest on those chords. That's your dominant chord. That's your one. All right, well, if you're starting off that way, you know what the rest of the piece is going to be like. So it's just filled with that. It would be the equivalent of having as much salt as food. I mean, you know, a little bit of salt tastes good. But when you have as much salt as food and you keep upping your salt, you know, your taste buds begin to adjust to that, and you never, almost like drugs, you never have enough. And then you lose the simplicity of it all. And that's another thing I appreciate about what we've been hearing. Your power is in your simplicity. Not simplistic, but simplicity. And this is what begins to happen. All right? Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at Finster at 7:30. May the Lord bless you. May He lead you and guide you in all that you say and do, is my prayer for you today and always.
Yes,